Howdy folks, good morning, afternoon, evening, tea time, whatever the fuck time it is in your part of the world, and welcome back to the Dutchbad Warrior YouTube channel, where we like being a Necrolord Warrior, and for the moment that's pretty much it. Anyways, this last week we actually finally knocked out Keystone Master. I've kind of strayed away from the PVE scene of things since I quit raiding last year, but there was a mount involved, so I kind of had to knock it out. I invited a few of my buddies, made a group with some longtime friends. I definitely could do that content and just hammered it out on easy weeks and difficult weeks. Regardless, I'm very grateful that I have friends that I can still play with that push hard PvE content that I can grow with and still learn, and then also adapt in doing PvP and PvE content, whether it be extremes, which we're not quite there yet, PvP, or, you know, kind of, we're doing alright. Hey, look, we did the thing in PvE content, which, in my opinion, would be knocking out Keystone Master, knocking out 15s. We don't need to go over guides on, like, how to do Mythic Plus, like, affixes, and how to work around this, and this is how you be a melee class. There's a lot of that content already on YouTube, and I'd highly advise you to go check out some of those content creators that make really good, in-depth, informative guides on how to do those things. Here we like to play Necrolord Warrior. I do, and based on the comments, and you guys are awesome for doing so, a lot of you do too. Whether it be, you know, before the banner was cool, or now that you see the banner's really neat, and you too want to be a Bone Lord. We're just going to go over some very basic things on how to be an Arms Warrior that is Necrolord running Keystones. It's going to be a pretty short video. Trust me, I know. My videos have been long. I apologize. We're going to try to make this a really short video, kind of condense it. And if you guys have questions, you're more than welcome to pop into the Twitch channel sometime, ask me live, or to leave it in the comments below. Sound cool? Neat. Let's try to make a short video. Oh God, wish me luck. So, we're going to be reviewing the 15 Spires Ascension for an example here. And you might take some other dungeons into play based on like how well I performed on banner placement. That's the thing we need to get over on this. That's the most important thing. You're a Necrolord Warrior. What do you provide? I have a Soaky shield so I can have some kind of buffer on if I happen to fail a mechanic, and I get to give people 400 mastery. The movement speed doesn't really matter too much. You're not going to be using this 2-minute cooldown for a movement speed effect. You're going to be using it for that 400 mastery. Fantastic, right? In this specific setup, you can see up here, we have 2 fire mages. A little interesting, I know. Didn't matter. My goal was to give those 2 fire mages 400 mastery as often as possible. And this is the difficulty of using your banner in a dungeon scenario. So we're just going to see, analyze, and look at how I did at least this first pull. Figured we had enough time before 2 minutes would be up, or at least 2 minutes would be up, in using banner on the initial pull, since we're pulling a decently large pack, that I'd still have it up for the boss, which we did. We're waiting for our tank to pull right here. Gonna go in, do a little standard Arms Warrior rotation, get some AoE stuff up there, Warbreaker, Bladestorm, and then as I'm Bladestorming, I'm getting ready, seeing my mages in position, I'm coordinating with them to be somewhat near each other, and they both got the mastery buff right there. So I used my Bladestorm, I was still doing a little bit of damage, utilizing that, going over, dropping banner for them, so that way they could bust their brains out. That was the goal. That's what you need to do. I'm just gonna let this kind of play while I talk a little bit more about this. There are some things that you can do to help with this quite a bit. You can use an intervene macro, so that way you have it fixated to one of your 2 ranged DPS, and then intervene to the target to use your banner. Make sure they know to be near somewhat each other and away from the healer. And you can also use Heroic Leap. I'm going to be honest here, I didn't have an intervene macro set up for that, and I should. Hindsight 2020, you should make an intervene macro for it. And the reason why is because technically, yes, we're losing out on damage throughput as being melee DPS running out to ranged to buff them, but you can also use charge to get rage back in and make up for somewhat of that damage time lost. The other thing to take consideration, group dynamic and damage throughput, is that they're casters. It would be more of a group damage loss to expect them to stack up on you. And this is just a vague, blanketed way of saying this, because obviously different casters, like if it's a hunter, whatever, they can continue DPSing while moving. If it's a mage, they can blink in. There are things you can do as other ranged DPS, totally, 100% understand. But in most cases, if they're a caster, they find their place and they stay planted in most cases, right? So if you have something within your toolkit to make sure that 2 DPS don't have to stop doing their damage rotation, and then also you get a slight thing to make up for it, which is the rage from charge, it makes up for it. It's gonna help. So my entire goal while running these keys after my banner was buffed, which we only had 3 or 4 keys with the new banner to knock out, was to make sure that they were coordinated correctly, that I would give them plenty of ahead of time notice, letting them know when their cooldowns were up. A lot of this was just communication. It really was. If you can coordinate and communicate with your team effectively on when to drop your banner, then you're good. There's not a lot of other DPS classes where it revolves around this, and in most cases it's going to be very vital for you to play a class that you don't have to worry about outside sources of communication or excessive amounts of communication to do your damage throughput or rotation, right? Being a Necrolord Warrior, what I've seen in this time that's played is you gotta communicate. You just gotta do it. A lot of people are going to be very unfamiliar with what your ability does. They're not going to know. They're not going to know importance. And if they don't, then you can end up with some failure scenarios, like accidentally buffing your priest right there with the 400 mastery instead of your mage, your secondary mage in this specific instance. That's what's going to happen. So you got to make sure you coordinate. You got to make sure you educate your team. It's up to you. You chose to be a Necrolord. You got to communicate with your team effectively when your banner is going to be up, when you're going to choose to use it, and so that way they can pull their cooldowns around it. It's a 15-second duration for 400 mastery. That 400 mastery is not going to benefit some classes more than others, so you could choose to use that how you like. And there could potentially be pulls in here, like if the tank wants to do something really juicy, that maybe the tank would benefit from that 400 mastery. Or maybe the healer would, depending on what healing class it is and how much mastery actually affects them. That's pretty much it. That's what you do. Hi, Necrolord Warrior things. And one more really quick example. I saw my mages, I coordinated with them to be stacked up over there. They were somewhat close enough to the boss. I just popped over real quick. Boom, bannered them. They're good. That was the way I could make the most utility and damage throughput out of using my banner. It was close enough that I didn't have to use Heroic Leap. I didn't have to use an Intervene. Again, I didn't have a macro setup, but I promise I will in the future. That's it. Go be a Necrolord Warrior. Hey, we did it, folks. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Hi, welcome to Will's Diagrams. Today we're going to go over how to properly use your banner, as if we weren't already talking about that this entire video. I just set up some raid markers. Harry, I'm beating on something, assuming Skull is a tank, Moon is your healer, Diamond and Triangle are your DPS. Most DPS are going to have the idea behind them that they can pretty much freely run wherever they want as long as they're safe from mechanics, and that way they can stay alive, right? And that's totally fine, and that's why coordination is the most important thing. You chose this Necrolord life, this is how you do it in PvE. So I would have to coordinate with, this is like the most ideal setup, right? Because all I would have to do, run over here, they're the 2 nearest targets now. If I were to drop it right here, then it would have equal spacing between what my healer is and what Diamond DPS would be, and my tank. So the tank would get it by default when I would use banner, and then it would be a 50-50 chance between these two if they're the exact same radius from each other. 50-50. Chances are that's a completely fluke scenario, and one of them is going to be closer even by the most fraction of a yard, and they will get that buff. So if your teammates don't know how this ability works, it can make or break the full utility out of using your banner. That's why it's your ability and you need to be responsible on how to do that, but you also still need to coordinate with your party correctly so that way you get the utility out of it. For me in this scenario, if they stand put, hey guys, I'm going to be bannering in 5 seconds, make sure you're in like close to me or closest targets to me, or get in a position where I can leap to you. That's what it would play out like, and you can coordinate those things ahead of time before it happens to be in the middle of a dungeon. This banner ability is not going to have the best utility in a pug scenario. You're not going to sit there and have macros constantly rolling like, hey, I'm going to be using my banner in 5 seconds. Get close if you want it, haha. And that's sadly how it's going to work for you if you decide to puck. So it's pretty easy for me. I'll just run over here, banner, continue my DPS throughput. That's it. It's easy enough. It makes sense on paper. If you want to have extra help on doing this, you can also make this fancy little thing. If you have DBM, just range and then you put in the input for the yard radius. If you watch the past YouTube video on what we made, it goes over yard radius, if LOS works, what targets get chosen, etc. But DBM range 30, boom, you're good, and you would be able to see which targets are closer to you, and you would be able to know who's going to get that buff when you use it. In my opinion, you shouldn't hold off too long on your ability based around your own cooldowns just to help your allies. You should coordinate as much as possible to line up things and sync them up so that you get the most utility out of it, whether it be during Lust, Combust, Convoke, etc. You have Balance Druid, you should be honest with each other. We probably need to prioritize making sure the Balance Druid gets that Convoke Mastery buff. It's really important. It's like what they crave. Anybody else get whispers from Boomkins constantly? A lot more Balance Druids on my friends list that are really hitting me up often. Oh, nice, actually. We failed yet again to make a short video. I apologize for that. I kind of went more in depth about using that banner than I initially intended to, but I wanted to make sure that you were leaving this video with having a more clear understanding about how to effectively use your brand new banner ability, being the Bone Lord that you switched to, or that you started to level 1 up, whatever it may be. I just want to make sure you're the most well-equipped possible and using that banner and making all your buddies happy. Sounds a little weird, but you get my point. If for whatever reason this video you have more questions and you would like to have them answered, you're more than welcome to comment down below, and I'll try to get to them in a timely manner as quickly as possible. If that's not soon enough for you, then you're more than welcome to check out the Twitch stream sometime. I stream 6 nights a week, 4 hours a night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or 11 Central. That's right here. There's the Twitch channel. Ooh, wow, I did the thing. Don't worry, this isn't my 18th recording because I mumbled my words too much. We also have Instagram, primary social media. More than welcome to DM me there. Just don't DM me weird things, please. And then also Twitter, because you have to have a Twitter, where like live tweets will happen, and then I talk about random food things because I still like to remember when I was actually practicing being a chef. That's it. Hopefully this video is less than 15 minutes. I think it is. Future will figure that one out. I'd say wish me luck again, but we all know that's probably not going to happen. Thank you all for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you'll check out the Twitch stream sometime. I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure to do the thumbs up thing, the like button, subscribe if you'd like more content or just want to see my beard more often, and leave a comment. Trick thing here, right? Ready? You actually watched the full video, leaving on this face. You have to comment down below, even if you want to comment a question, whatever, what your favorite type of cheesecake is. That's all I'll know. Ask that question a lot. I like standard strawberry. I also like really, really awkward silences. It's 4 a.m. I'm going to bed. Have a good night, morning, evening, afternoon, tea time, whatever the fuck time it is in your part of the world. And I'll catch you in the stream.